Welcome back to the History Labyrinth, the show where we get lost in the strange, forgotten quarters of human history. I'm your host. History is full of wars fought over land, gold, religion, and freedom. But today, we're looking at a conflict that nearly brought two massive nations to actual blows over seafood. Picture this, it's the height of the Cold War. The year is 1961. The French Navy has just deployed a 2,750-ton state-of-the-art guided missile destroyer toward the coast of South America. In response, Brazil mobilizes its entire fleet, including an aircraft carrier, ordering its pilots to fly low-altitude blackout missions directly over French ships. And why? Because of Penurius Argus, the spiny lobster. To understand how we got here, we have to travel to Brittany, France. For decades, French fishermen had been pulling lobsters out of the waters off the coast of West Africa. But by 1961, the traditional grounds were completely fished out. Desperate to keep their commercial fleets afloat, a group of fishermen from the French port of Camaret decided to sail their large trawlers across the Atlantic Ocean. They dropped anchor roughly 100 miles off the northeastern coast of Brazil, near Pernambuco. And let me tell you, they struck gold. The waters were absolutely teeming with premium spiny lobsters. But it didn't take long for the local Brazilian fishermen to notice. They looked out past the horizon and saw these massive modern French boats using a technique called bottom trawling, essentially scraping the ocean floor and scooping up everything in sight. The locals complained to the Brazilian Navy, saying, "Hey, these guys are stealing our livelihood right out of our territorial waters." Enter Brazilian Admiral Arnaldo Toscano. He sends two military corvettes out to investigate. When the Brazilian ships pull up alongside the French fleet, the captain orders the French boats to pack up their traps and move out to deeper waters. Now, normally, when a pair of military warships tells you a bunch of wooden fishing boats to move, the fishing boats move. But the French, they refused. They claimed they had every right to be there because they were in international waters. This is where the story shifts from a local fishing dispute to an international legal labyrinth. The entire crisis ended up hinging on the 1958 Geneva Convention on the continental shelf. Under the international rules of the time, a coastal country owned exclusive rights to the natural resources on its continental shelf. But there was a catch. The rule explicitly applied to sedentary species, things that stayed attached to or lived on the ocean floor, like oysters, clams, or coral. Free-swimming fish in the open water were fair game for anyone. So the two governments weaponized marine biology. Brazil fired the first rhetorical shot. They argued that because spiny lobsters walk and crawl along the ocean floor, they were a part of the continental shelf. Therefore, they belonged to Brazil. French fired right back with their own scientific thesis. They claimed that lobsters jump, leap, and technically swim through the water column. Therefore, they are just like fish, meaning they belong to whoever catches them. The debate reached a level of absurdity that you honestly couldn't write in a fictional script. The most famous line of the entire conflict came from a Brazilian oceanographer and naval expert named Admiral Paulo Maria da Silva. During a heated diplomatic session, he completely dismantled the French legal argument with a single analogy. He said, "For Brazil to accept the French thesis that a lobster is a fish because it leaps on the seafloor is like Brazilians claiming that when kangaroos hop, they should be considered birds. But while the scientists were arguing about the kangaroo logistics, the politicians were losing their minds. French President Charles de Gaulle was furious. He felt Brazil was disrespecting French sovereignty and commercial interest. In early 1963, de Gaulle officially dispatched the French destroyer Tartu to protect the fishing fleet. Brazilian President João Goulart didn't back down. He gave the French forces a 48-hour ultimatum to withdraw. Brazil mobilized its army, moved its navy into a state of high alert, and sent its air force on high-stakes total radio silence surveillance flights to buzz the French warships at a mere 100 feet of altitude, surprising the sailors on deck. For a few weeks, in the spring of 1963, Recife, Brazil was transformed into a wartime command center. The press was in a frenzy. Pop stars wrote samba songs about the crisis. People generally thought a kinetic navy battle was about to erupt over dinner. Fortunately, cooler heads prevailed. No shots were ever fired. The French destroyer was intercepted and diplomatically repelled before it could spark an actual war. De Gaulle quietly ordered the military assets to stand down, and both sides retreated to the negotiation table. By December 1964, a formal agreement was signed. Brazil officially expanded its exclusive territorial waters to a 200-mile zone, effectively absorbing the entire disputed lobster bed. To play nice, they threw France a bone, or rather a claw, by allowing 26 French fishing vessels to operate there for a strict 5-year period, provided they shared a percentage of their profits with local Brazilian fishermen. The Lobster War remains one of the strangest chapters in modern diplomacy, a legendary reminder of the lengths to which world leaders will go when resources, nationalism, national pride, and the definition of a crustacean collide. Thanks for navigating the labyrinth with us today. If you enjoyed this dive into historical absurdity, make sure to hit a follow, leave us a review, and join us next week as we uncover another hidden turn in history. Until next time.